IVM. Welcome to today's episode of This Round is on Me. I hope everyone's year has kicked off with a renewed energy and you aren't half as exhausted as I am, only third week into the year. I actually wanted to share an interesting experience I had last week while interviewing a candidate for a marketing position in our company. She seemed to be a great fit for our team, but she mentioned that she still wasn't comfortable coming to work daily. Now, it's true we're still very much in the middle of a pandemic, and whether it's the nature of our industry that we can't run restaurants from home, or just that we've become a little immune to the situation over the course of the last few months, we're back to 100% staffing at work, including our office. So I wasn't quite sure about how to deal with this request and eventually had to take the call that we have a policy that people have to come to work if there's no pressing reason that they can't. But it got me wondering whether I was being old school and not adapting to a new hybrid that everyone seems to be adopting of the part home and part office routine, or even in some cases shifting entirely to an online mode of working. Or was it, in all honesty, that we have trust issues, that if we don't see our team members physically at work, we question as to whether they're working at all? So I decided to invite someone whom I think will have a pulse on what's happening with the latest work trends. Marlies Bloemendaal, a Dutch national, moved to India around the same time I did, about 12 years ago. Besides doing many other things, in 2016, she called Ministry of New, which made it to the number 2 spot on Forbes magazine's list of the 5 most beautiful co-working spaces in the world. I can vouch for the fact that it has become one of the most iconic public workspaces in the city. And each time I happen to go there for anything at all, I wish I could get my office to look half as pretty and inviting. Marlies, I'm really delighted to have you join me on the show today and hopefully shed some light on not just the new normal of working, but also your experience as an entrepreneur and designer, and of course, as an expat setting up a business in the big bad city, of the way people are thinking about work these days. So, what's your take on the new format of working and where it's headed?
Well, I have many takes on it, I think. And it's actually, it changes day to day sometimes. Mm-hmm. I don't know. And it's also who you meet, I guess, and you get what you're just saying also, that you met someone in the market for marketing and you kind of surprised, right? That like people are still very much at home for whatever reason and they feel not sure yet about stepping out. For me, that's the same. And, most members at the ministry, they half of them have returned. And half of them are still staying home for different reasons. But yeah, since we are already there since September, we're already so used to going back to our office, and it became already normal, and we kind of found our way to deal with it, right? Just accept it and deal with it day to day.
Absolutely. Well. I mean, we have a restaurant that's open and people are coming. So exactly, you kind of just get on with it, right? That's how we've thought about it.
Yeah, in whatever situation you are, of course. And I think we are the lucky ones, obviously. But it becomes a kind of normal for me even. I don't go every day. And I'm just wondering myself, is it really of like fear of like getting in a cab and go to the city? Or is it all the, at the moment, the pollution or the noise? I find it more difficult to handle noise at the moment, since we were home for like half a year. Or is it the fact that I became a kind of comfortable at home, right? Because you just made it work.
Yeah.
Of course, again, with the luxury of a nice small apartment.
Yeah.
But I think there's different reasons and different ways how people look at it. And it sometimes can really change from day to day for me as well.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. The whole question that I'm sort of grappling with is that we all did it when, we all worked from home when we had to. And so, is it just that we can't let go of that whole idea of being physically in front of people and seeing people? But the truth is that we actually can manage from, by working from home and possibly be more productive as well. And then for a lot of people, save time, right, in commuting. So is this really, I've actually chatted about this with, a bunch of people I know, just to get their thoughts. And what I'm hearing is that it really depends, there's no right way of thinking about this. And there's no one answer to this. It really depends on the nature of your business and, what the work is, right? So obviously for us, like I said, with the restaurant, we have to show up to work. It's not something that can be done remotely. But when it comes to sort of services that aren't necessarily about being in the same place, is this, I mean, do you see that this is a temporary thing? Do you feel that there's a long-term shift that could be happening here? And, how are you thinking about it vis-a-vis, your business?
No, I do think that it's for at least a part of the people, I think it's for the longer term, that they kind of starting to choose this half in an office, half at home way, if they can afford it, of course. I think it's a luxury to be able to do this as well, right?
Why do you say that?
Well, I mean, you have to be able, if you have a home where it's quiet and, you have your amazing Wi-Fi and everything's sorted, and then maybe part-time you go to, for example, a co-working space or an office for the social part, for your meetings, for getting really your stuff done, right? Your main work done. But maybe you might opt for a day at home as well, to just maybe have when you have a lot of work to do, where you which you can easily do at home. As long as you can have that focus at home, I think that's a good thing, and I think it's healthy.
Yeah. And I guess the flip side for this, in terms of, in your favor, is that, again, something that we grappled with during, the height of the pandemic, when our businesses weren't actually operational, was, whether we even needed an office at all, and, negotiating with landlords and things about the office rent, and whether, it actually all boiled down to that, right? So I think the flip side for you is that people have possibly even given up offices and feel that, having a smaller space within a co-working space, or, sharing a desk, etc., is actually more cost effective and equally productive. So is that also something that you've seen happen more and more?
For sure, because it's all about flexibility now, right? Again, it's a kind of luxury. But that flexibility definitely changed everything. I think we were really pushed before, like, you have to be there every day to work, to be productive, and that's the only way I can make my business work. Now, especially when you have a team and maybe people live further away, they have to come by train. You don't trust the trains yet, or they're not even running. So you have to find a way to make it work. So maybe these team members can come in just twice a day, for example. But that means also you don't need a big office anymore. Mm-hmm. And that's where co-working definitely comes in, as long as co-working spaces, of course, offer like a flexible option, like day passes or team memberships or anything like that. Which we obviously do, and we changed it even a couple of memberships. Yeah.
And, I'm sure you have a sort of pulse on what's happening, not just in Bombay, but around the world in this space. So is that something that you're seeing across the board, that's not just unique to Bombay? Because obviously a lot of people live further out, and, trains still aren't functional for everybody and things like that. So is this something that you're seeing across cities around the world?
Yes, for sure. That's a big shift worldwide. I'm in touch actually with a lot of founders of co-working spaces around the world, and we've been talking the whole year about whatever issues were thrown to us. So also now, like most co-working spaces have opened up, and I can see they shifted, they pivoted in many ways, different ways, in very creative ways, and they really try to think along and really help your members out. I mean, it's also long-term thinking that we're not just about the desk, right? Like co-working is absolutely, it's not like real estate. The real co-working is not real estate where you just have a desk and a table and a cabin. What we do is it's much more human-centered anyway. So we know our members, we know them personally, we know what they need. And if we don't know, we will ask them, like, okay, guys, how are you at the moment? What's your work situation? Have things changed? How is your team? Have you maybe, your team became smaller or bigger? How much flexibility do you need? How are your timings? Do people have to come from far or not? So we have to adjust and we have to make it work for them also.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to help them. And that's our main service also, I guess. And that works really well. And we have done that from the start, but now especially of this year, obviously, that became much more important.
I think, you're spot on. I mean, just sort of moving away from the future sort of trends of co-working, I think, coming to what makes ministry really special. And I've seen this, we're actually just a day past our 10-year anniversary at the table. And I know we were talking about this separately, that we often think that a co-working space is about desks and that, a restaurant is about the food and beverage. But actually, it really boils down to relationships, right? And in your case, with your, your members, and in our case, with our diners. And it's about flexibility. It's about, that personal touch. And I really, I want to sort of understand a little bit more from you about, it'll be sort of 5 years of ministry this year. So
no, it's more actually. It's actually 8 years. The one in Fort, the one in Fort is 5 years. Yeah. But I started at about 3 years before that.
Right. Yeah. Sorry, I missed that. But yes, you're absolutely right. As a brand, it celebrates 8 years this year. So, what is it that you really feel is the essence of ministry, and what put you number 2 on sort of the world's best co-working spaces, do you think?
I guess co-working in India is just a kind of misrepresented or misunderstood. I think 90% of the co-working spaces in India, or what they call co-working spaces, is more like almost like a marketing tag or something, which is more, they're more like business centers with interesting some artworks or wall paintings or bright colors and a nice, bean bags and stuff. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't make it a co-working space. For me, co-working is hospitality. It's absolutely not real estate. And co-working in India is really part of real estate, which is for me, that's not a real deal. Globally, it's a very different story. If you see co-working in general, most of the co-working spaces are spaces like ours, which is more boutique, more human-centered, like really, the members, they know each other, they help each other out. That is the whole point of co-working. It's collaborative. And it's absolutely not, you share the space, you share the whatever amenities, but that's absolutely not the most important thing. And that's where I think, click, because, of course, you're doing like 100% hospitality as well. And so we also come across the same issues or the same it's in general a bit of the same business, I guess.
No, I think that's, just to sort of expand on that idea of hospitality. I've really, we all say it and we know we're doing something different and we think about it, but what is it actually that it boils down to? And I always tell my team this, that, we're not the only place serving burgers and fries and pastas and whatnot. So why are people coming back, to our restaurant versus anywhere else? And I really think it's, of course, there's a certain quality, etc., associated with it. There's a certain ambience. But what I really actually think it boils down to is it feeling like a home away from home, right?
100%.
And I think that's the same thing that you've managed to do, where the warmth that you feel, you that's what people want. They want to be able to connect. They want to feel
and trust.
Exactly. That there's a common that there's some sort of a common sort of frame of mind of how things should be done, and you have to connect beyond just the service offering that comes with that.
And you have to mean it. I think it comes with your personality as a host as well.
Integrity.
It's about trust and really feel, understand people and why they come to your place. Because in your space, yes, 100% for the amazing food and the nice ambience. But it's also because they know you and then they know your team. You have a lot of people in your team, which I really like, behind the bar, for example, they know, if I come in, they know I would love to have a whiskey sour or something, or I love your French onion soup, or, right? I don't even have to ask that, which is amazing, I think. And I hope that's the same for our space. And we call it our second home. Even now, I notice also people who are returning to the ministry, the members, they often don't go anywhere else. So they have been at home all the time. Mm-hmm. And the first place they are now going out to, like they step out for, is the Ministry of New, because they feel safe and secure and they trust us, right? And that's so important. So that makes a huge difference. And I think that you really have to invest in that as well. But it has to come with your personality. You have to have a kind of that character as well, that you really honestly love your members or love your guests, or love what you do.
I mean, it's spot on. I think like the things that I'm kind of taking away from our conversation so far is firstly flexibility, and the second thing is trust. I mean, it's so important even in our business, where we're sort of handling food, and again, you have larger numbers coming into a sort of into a limited space, and people have to trust that you're taking the right precautions, that you are looking out for them, and if you do it with integrity is when people believe you. Otherwise everyone can just do the same thing and say they're doing it,
but you can't fake it. I mean, you can probably fake it for like a short term, but not long term. That's just not working. But I don't know, it's all about honesty. I think we have been also very honest to our members the last half a year or year, like, guys, honestly, we don't know if we're going to make it. And we have been all honest, like, okay, yes, we got some discount for rent, for example, but we immediately also forwarded that to our members, for example. And we've been very open, like, okay, guys, help us out here. We need to figure out like how we're going to survive. And I think it's important to also trust your members the other way around also. Yeah. Right?
No,
Don't
I agree
fake
with
it.
you completely. Yeah. And also let people sort of, come around in their own time,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
There's no rush to head back and put deadlines and sort of, commitments, and, because there is so much uncertainty. So I think, yes, again, it comes down to flexibility. But I want to ask sort of the flip side to this personal touch and, this really sort of close-knit community that formed as a result of this personal attention is scale, right? So in our case, we just, like I said, celebrated 10 years, but it's the one restaurant that, it's still only the one table that we've built over these 10 years. And yes, we do have other brands, but, you would have expected the restaurant to have more than one outpost in 10 years. I mean, otherwise, people question you as a restaurateur and what you're really doing, from a business perspective. But tell me how, what you think about this. And I think if I speak about my experience, it's, we haven't sort of put the pressure of timelines on ourselves to say that, okay, by year 5, we have to have X number of places, or by year, 10, there should be this or that. So, maybe that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know, but it's worked for us so far. And yes, we're now at a point where we do need to start thinking about, a bit more planning, because so far it's really been a lot based on gut. And of course, opportunities that have either come, not, worked out, whatever it is. So, how do you feel about this from your space in terms of how do you kind of balance that personal sort of unique nature of being such a close-knit space with possibly needing to scale from a business perspective?
Yeah, I mean, initially that was never my intention, because I didn't even start a co-working space to open this co-working space, right? It was first my own studio, and it became organically a co-working space. So that was never my intention to make it a business, really. That only came later. Then, of course, things changed and it became bigger because we opened in Forks. Numbers became more important, obviously. Then we had so many people coming to us also, like, oh, we want to invest in the ministry. Can you open in Bangalore? Can you open in Delhi? Can you open wherever? And for me, that was always, yes, absolutely opportunities. And I've always looked at it very seriously. We did all the numbers. We looked also at localities and if it would work. But again, it has to work in a sense that you have to find a really good person also to take up like my role, for example, or, I have a fabulous team here in Fort, but, you have to find a similar team in another city as well. And, you have to know the markets well. I think you need a good network there because that's also, I think, the only way we made it into a success because we already knew a lot of people. We knew the neighborhood. We had a kind of finger on the pulse, so I say that. So I knew it would work. Like I was definitely totally 100% convinced it was going to work. I still want to expand, but then to Bandra, for example, that has been always on my list. I live in Bandra too. But it's just not so easy. It's just, there's always things which kind of, stop it or, don't help. Now this year, of course, things change anyway because we lost obviously a lot of money. But yeah, still, I see still the opportunities. There's definitely a need for it, even more now. This year, I think it will be growing even bigger. And so also for us, there will be an opportunity again. We get a lot of requests also. But yeah, we take it day to day, to be honest.
Exactly. And I think what you're saying is sort of similar to us where, there's no conventional way of how scaling and expansion should happen. And, you don't have to do it on anyone's timelines or, there's no race to doing anything. And I really think that it's about, doing what fits best with your vision for a brand, and I think that's my takeaway from this.
But and you should be able to invest in really good people again, right? I think that's the biggest investment, and that takes time. So yes, you can find an amazing building in a great location, but then you're not there yet. I think the team is much more important, and find the right people to also, become members, obviously, and love your space the same as the one in Fort.
Absolutely. So, Marlies, you mentioned briefly about how you started this space off as your own, workspace, and then it grew into becoming what it is today. So, take us back a little bit, and what is the genesis of this? Because I think when you, when you launched Ministry, I remember co-working spaces was still like a relatively new idea, of the idea of sharing. With other people, sharing a workspace with other people was still a very sort of, I think, nascent concept, at least in Bombay. And if I drew an analogy with the restaurant, I would say the same thing about our little community table, where the idea of sharing a seat with a stranger on the same table was just a big no-no. And wow, how that's changed, right, over the years. So tell me about the genesis of this, like what, got you going on this idea?
No, I was working as an art director. I'm a graphic designer originally. That's what I studied. I worked, of course, many years as art director for publications and agencies and everything. So I decided at some point to rent a very cool old warehouse in Lalbagh. But it was big, it was expensive. I had some cash, but because I sold my apartments in Antwerp. But I was like, okay, nice place. I renovated the whole thing. I had a lot of fun, but then it was empty. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do with this? I thought like, okay, let me share this with other creatives, and it can become a kind of hub. People can meet, we can do events, and lots of photo shoots. People can use it for any creative idea and purpose. That was the idea. And then only when I was, I think, maybe halfway the renovations or something, then I only heard about co-working. And I'm like, oh, that's actually what I'm doing. Because, I just found it online or something, or someone mentioned it. It's like, oh. So I finally was able to put it in a kind of box and label it. And I already had the name and everything. And I called it a creative collaborative space or something. then it made it easier, right? It was like, co-working space. Okay, that's easier, shorter, makes more to the point. But definitely it was one of the first in India for sure. I think there was one in Delhi only. That's it. So it was definitely a start of something new. And I felt it was the right time.
Yeah, and I think that, it's so funny you say that, because I think timing and it's sort of being that first mover advantage has sort of kind
definitely
of proven
pioneering
itself for you. Yeah,
definitely.
Exactly. And, we've been kind of reflecting over what, we've been asked by sort of various people, like, you guys have done so many things. And I think that's what it is. I think it's really about timing, doing it well, and taking that chance really on an idea, that you believe in. So kudos to you.
No, it was
and I think that
sorry to interrupt you. I noticed also I was a newcomer in the city, right? I moved here 12 years ago, and this was about 8 years ago or something that I opened it. But I noticed that I kind of built a nice network and lots of friends because I was working in publishing and for agencies and stuff. So you meet a lot of people and you work with a lot of freelancers, especially.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had, of course, also other foreign friends. And I just noticed, like, okay, it's so difficult to start something here. It's really tough. I mean, especially your business, I know, like in a hospitality.
I think any business. I mean,
yeah, but it's just the whole. All the paperwork, the red tape, it's the city.
How did you do it actually without speaking a word of Marathi? I want to know this.
Honestly, but that's how I live. I live very much in the moment, and it takes things day by day, and that's the only way to do it, I think. Otherwise, you go mad.
Yeah.
But I also met the right people, I must say. I mean, and most of them are still my best friends also. But that's what you need also, right? And meet the right people, the right moment, the right place, and things come together. So I know it's okay. I have these amazing people. I'm very creative. I have a knack for hospitality. I love hospitality. I used to work in lots of bars and restaurants when I was younger. So it all came together, and I loved curating like cool events. I love art and culture. I knew the city very well because I nothing makes me more exciting than going to Crawford Market and all the bazaars in Lelbach, for example. So things come together and at the right moments, and that's a kind of spark, or kind of then it happens. I think.
Well, I think, like you said, the first step is to adopt the city in the truest sense.
Yes. Yeah. I love the city.
And everything that comes with it. But tell me, I mean, do you remember any of the sort of some of the big or small challenges that you faced in setting up?
Where to start? I mean, still, it's always like this circle, right? Even now, to just get things done, like for, I don't know, then I need an Aadhaar card, and then I need this, and then I need that paperwork, and it's never enough. I don't know.
We love our paper.
No, it's always, you get in a kind of circle, and it's hard to get out. And even with your accountant and people, your team, it's just, I don't know. It's sometimes very tough, but most of the time I can just laugh about it. And then you talk to other people, and they have the same issues. So it's not, you're not the one who's,
it's nothing personal.
It's not personal. Don't take the city personal, It's just, and I love it also. I love the challenge of the city. That makes you feel alive also, right? Otherwise it would be so boring.
Yeah. If it's too easy, it's not fun, right?
I love my challenges. That's really, that makes it take.
Yeah. So, Marlies, this has been like lots of learning for me. And also, I think that it's really great to hear how a completely different industry you think from ours, which is, F&B. But I actually think it all comes down to hospitality for both of us.
Yes.
And there's so much actually commonality, which probably, applies to probably any service industry, So really interesting to hear that there's so much actually common between both our businesses. So, okay, we're going to come to a slightly more impromptu, fun part of the conversation. So just tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. Who's your all-time favorite designer?
Oh gosh! All-time Oh God, I have too many. It's a really difficult question, to be honest.
Well, I had to ask you only because I absolutely love what you do in what you've done at the ministry.
Oh God, I'm so sorry. I'm just fell out of my plate. Yeah, I don't know. I honestly, sorry, I'm completely blank here.
That's fine. Okay, what are you most proud of?
I think the ministry, to be honest, and to be able to make so many connections, and
Yeah, no, definitely. What's your favorite Indian street food?
Oh, pani puri for sure. I love, especially at Elco's. I live around the corner of Elco's, and I love it.
Okay. Well,
First thing I do when I come home, is having some pani puri.
Okay, I'm gonna send you some of ours from Iktara and tell us how
it nice.
Okay, the best book you've read in the recent past.
Or
a good book.
I love the Humankind from. It's a Dutch writer, historian. Humankind, I think it's called.
Okay, I'm gonna look that up.
It's interesting. It's just about the kind of shared economy. It has part of it. It's about I don't know. Yeah, you have to read it. Okay. And that also, that actually, the point is that people are more kinder than you think, and the world is not as bad as you think. So we should be hopeful. It's a very good book to read if you're kind of a bit down or
Wow.
Or, if you're overwhelmed by the world.
A bit of that. Yeah, I think we all need a little bit of positive.
Yes, it's a very positive
and hope in our lives right now.
Very good.
What's the one thing you love to do to unwind?
Oh, I just love being home.
Yeah.
Just being home and read a book or chill. I love swimming and I love sailing. I was
going to say, I thought you would have said sailing. I remember, because that's when I see you, right? When you come back from your Sunday sail. But, it's so funny. When we opened the restaurant, I, for some strange reason, started sailing with this Jay, and I and a friend of mine started sailing together, taking sailing lessons together. And it was actually the best part of my week because it was the one place, and this is 10 years ago, where we didn't get mobile network, right? So for these 2 hours on a Sunday evening, I was just unreachable. And it was the best 2 hours of my week.
It's total bliss.
So I completely get the addiction to sailing.
Yeah, it's total bliss. And it's again an extreme luxury to be able to do it in a city like we're living in. But I love it. And it's also because I have a really nice team. I'm coming with you next time. Yes, please. I would love to. I would love that.
Okay. And finally, what would be your message to young entrepreneurs today?
Very standard to do it. Just do it. Yes. And I think it's always good to start if you just graduated, for example. I think it's always good to start in a larger company first to just kind of get into
learn the ropes.
Learn the ropes but also build your network and kind of get the idea of deadlines or the ways people are working. I think you learn a lot. Then I think it's great that you to start in hospitality. I think that's a great base for any job because you get to know people.
That's a good point. Yeah,
it is. I think I started in hospitality as a student. I think it's one of my biggest learnings ever, more than I learned in school, for sure. It's been very helpful.
Yeah.
I think it's great to start first in a bigger business before you start your entrepreneurship, maybe after 2 years or something. I don't know. I think for me personally, I think that's
I couldn't agree with you more. Listen, Marlies, this has been so much fun talking to you. And, like I said, just love the fact that there's actually so much in common and it all boils down to hospitality. So keep up the amazing work that you're doing at the ministry. And I hope to see you there very soon.
You also, Gauri, you've been total rock star also this whole year. I think I've been following you forever, whatever you're writing and doing and talking. And I think you're a great example for a lot of people. And I, of course, love your place. I'll see you very soon. And,
yes. For a round,
thank you so much.
For a drink on me. So
Oh yeah, deal. Thank you so much for this.
I
really appreciate it.
My conversation with Marlies today actually gave me a lot of food for thought about how I possibly need to start thinking about, work, my team, and maybe I need to be a little bit more flexible about the whole idea of working from home, working from the office, etc., and still being productive. So lots for me to think about. I hope you found it interesting. And if you did, please subscribe to the show for lots more conversations that we've already had and that I hope to bring to you in the new year. So thank you. And if you like this show, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM Podcast Network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcasts app or website or wherever else you get your podcasts from. You can also follow us on social media. We're at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram. And if you want to reach out to me, I'm at gdevidyal on Instagram and at Gauri Details on Twitter.
I hope you enjoyed that show. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I'd like to thank the sponsors on the network this week, Storytel and The Whole Truth Foods. Thank you for supporting us. So a great bunch of episodes this week. First, let me tell you about The Note with Maruk Inayat. It was featuring Asaduddin Owaisi. She spoke to the AIMIM leader to understand what the Indian Muslim voter wants and how his party is any different from the BJP. On Advertising is Dead, Varun spoke with Malika Sadani. Malika is the founder and CEO of the Moms Company. They discussed the science of motherhood. On Naan Curry with Sadaf and Archit, Dhananjay Chuck of the Edges and Sledges podcast showed up, so we did another crossover, this time with food and cricket. On Agla Station Adulthood, Ritasha and Ayushi talked to Gaurang Sangvi, head of digital business at DSP Mutual Fund. The episode has some logical and realistic advice, especially for millennials, on how to invest their money. Shunya One is back this week with Sheila Ditya and myself. We spoke to Anirudh Singla of Pepper Content this week. Really interesting conversation. Anirudh gave us some real deep insights into content creation and how they're thinking about different ways of creating it. Do check them out. Really fun show, really fun conversation. And with that, we hope to see you again next week.
पेश खिदमत है आपकी शान में हमारे अंजुमन से. Hi, I am Sadaf.
And I'm Archit. खाने का इतिहास, economics, policy, psychology, सब है मेन्यू पे.
Only on the Naan Curry podcast every Wednesday, सिर्फ IVM podcast ऐप या वेबसाइट पर या फिर जहां से भी आप अपने पॉडकास्ट सुनते हो.